All right, we've got 3 public hearings here tonight. We're going to start off with those. So I'm going to open up the public hearings tonight at 6:30 at the Richmond Fire Station. Do a roll call
Chairman Osterman,
here.
Supervisor Plotecker. Here. Commissioner Olhafen.
Here.
Commissioner Nelson.
Here.
Commissioner Mouche is absent and excused. Commissioner Everly.
Here.
Planner Sumwalt.
Here.
Attorney Macy. Engineer Mitch Lysis is absent and excused. Clerk Capazzo is here to record the minutes. Administrator Nicholas is absent and excused. Supervisor Beal. And that's what we've got.
Thank you. Notice was given that joint public hearings would be held by the Lisbon Town Board and Plan Commission on Thursday, March 3rd, starting at 6:30 PM at the Richard Young Memorial Fire Station, North 54 West 26455 Lisbon Road, to solicit public comments on the following. We have public hearing number 1, a request for amendment to existing conditional use permit in the PR Park and Recreation Zoning District for Tamara Wolfgram and Songbird Hills Golf Club related to construction of a new storage building and in addition to existing pavilion on the property located at West 259 North 8700 State Road 164 and known as LSPT 0178.995, LSPT 0178.996, and LSPT 0159.999. All right, we have the applicant here tonight. If you would come on up. If you just state your name. And
My name is
address.
Tamara Wolfgram.
And your address is?
My personal address or the golf course address?
Go.
It's W259 N 8700 Highway 164. And it's a Heartland address for postal reasons,
All right,
53029.
excellent. Do you have anything to present tonight, or should we just start off with the engineer? Or planner, I'm sorry. Been promoted.
We'll start off with the engineer, I guess.
Or
Okay.
planner, I'm sorry. All right.
So the Plan Commission has before them a request by Songbird Hills Golf Course for a storage building and a pavilion addition. This would be a conditional use permit amendment and site plan of operation amendment request. May recall at the last meeting, the Plan Commission opted not to hold the public hearing due to concerns the notice lacked sufficient description of the proposed storage building portion of the project. So based on general consensus, this item, staff was directed to renotice the public hearing and include all 3 tax key numbers of the properties owned by Songbird Hills Golf Club, Inc., along with the more detailed description, which was subsequently done. And the more detailed description included that there was going to be part of this project, a new storage building. The background is that the golf course had a conditional use permit from Waukesha County dating back to 1991. We are here to amend the conditional use permit and establish essentially a site plan of operation. The proposed construction is for an approximately 2,688 square foot new storage building and 1,410 square foot addition to an existing picnic pavilion at the golf course. These projects are going to include an approximately 626 square foot concrete slab for the new building and removal and replacement of approximately 1,440 square feet of pavement around the existing pavilion structure. This project is located southeast of the clubhouse, east of the lower parking lot. We have the map aerial up right now. I'm using my pointer to kind of indicate where this falls as far as the overall site. This is 164. Here's the main clubhouse. Here's that lower parking lot. And this is going to be just to the east of that lower parking lot. In the materials regarding the plan of operation, we've got a description of the use. We've got a the amount of employees, the hours of operation. There's a brief description of the architecture of the building. The pavilion will match, the construction and design of the existing pavilion that's out there. The proposed storage building is a metal pole building, steel siding and roof. There's no proposed landscaping as part of this project. There's no proposed exterior lighting. The parking, there are approximately 134 spaces with 8 allotted for employees. No additional parking is being proposed as part of this request. The applicant indicates that there haven't been any issues with parking with the business. And the Plan Commission should determine if the existing spaces that are provided are sufficient for the proposed use. There's no proposed signage. Based on the overall disturbance area of the site, the project is under the threshold and will not require a major grading permit. Since the disturbance exceeds 3,000 square feet in the area, the applicant shall obtain erosion control and stormwater management permits from Waukesha County as necessary. As far as access and circulation, again, I'll point to this image that this will be accessible via the main parking lot and drive aisle that go down to this lower parking lot. And the concrete apron for the pavilion essentially approaches that space. The staff recommendation includes several conditions. We've amended what you saw last time so that condition 1 applies to all 3 of the tax keys for the Songbird Hills properties. Last time it was just the tax key for the main golf course proper where this building is located. The approval is conditioned on the plans that have been provided to the Plan Commission in your packet this evening. There are some conditions regarding town engineer approval and obviously any Waukesha County approvals that are necessary, as we previously mentioned. And the rest are basically boilerplate conditions. And now
Okay.
we can get into questions after we are done with the public hearing.
Does the applicant have anything to add? All right, we'll open up for questions. We have nobody in the audience here. Does anyone on Zoom have any? Lisa Otis?
Lisa Otis on Zoom.
Hello. Good evening, everybody. I do have some questions. We couldn't really see, I couldn't see the pointer that the engineer was using to point out the pieces of property there. I'm looking at the map, but I'm not sure which exactly is which. There's a, looks like a structure, maybe the main building on 164. And then to the east of that, there's a white square. Is that an existing structure? Is that where the new structure is going to be? Just wondering exactly where on the map that new piece is going to be built.
Okay.
Okay. Second question is moving down the list. If you look at the beginning of the recommendations from FOTH, number 6 in the background talks about the existing zoning, which is PR Park and Recreation, but there's also shoreland, C1 Conservancy, wetland, floodplain district, C1 Conservancy, C1 Conservancy again on each of these tax lots, environmental corridor, high groundwater, floodway as established, I guess, by FEMA. And number 7 says proposed zoning NA. So are we changing the zoning for those areas? Because as I've stated previously, I object to rezoning C1 Conservancy, wetland, floodplain, all of these types of areas, shoreland, environmental corridor. And then Second question or third question is they where the new pretty big amount of concrete is going to be laid. And there's no plan for re-landscaping. What's on that piece of land where the concrete is going to be laid? Because to me, it looks like there potentially should be some, some discussion, some requirement to replace potential native plants, other flora there, not just paving it over and just, destroying anything that's already there. It should be replaced if there is, which I would guess some sensitive areas there. So that's what I have as far as a question. And sorry, Lisa Otis, W220N9359 Town Line Road, Menominee Falls mailing address.
Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
All right, so the rezoning, we can nail that one right away. There is no rezoning going on.
Okay, great.
As far as the structures, or could you zoom in? Potentially, is there a way to do that to show?
Lisa should be able to do that, yeah. So we're zoomed in a little bit more here, and you can see this structure that Ms. Otis had a question about is the lower parking lot. And so again, here's 164, here's the clubhouse. This is the lower parking lot and the
She can't see on that screen.
Oh,
Can you do it
okay.
on your computer?
yeah, you just wanna,
I don't think
Are you-
so. I'm not.
Well, I'm watching it here. Whoever's got the mouse pointer on the screen.
essentially, if you can see that,
Yeah.
if you can see that red arrow, that's pointing directly to where now that we're zoomed in a little more, directly to the project site. And the existing surface there is turf grass.
It's turf grass, so it's grass.
There's an existing pavilion structure that has a paved apron around it. And then there is turf grass where the proposed pavilion addition and storage building would go.
As you can see on there. Can you see it okay, Lisa? Go ahead and unmute her. Oh, 1 second, we can't hear you, Lisa.
Can you hear me now?
Now we
Yep.
got you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, I could see the pointer once, it was shown on his laptop. And the fact that it's turf grass, well, I'm not a fan of turf grass. That certainly is not a native type of planting. So that answers a lot of questions. Also, I'm glad to hear that zoning is not going to be changed. That's wonderful. And I guess that my only comment would be, as a property owner of a golf course, it's an opportunity to incorporate native plants into the landscape. And I certainly would encourage owners of this type of property and Ms. Wolfgram in particular to consider that as an option as they incorporate landscaping and plants into the property and the golf course. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lisa. We have one other individual on Zoom. I don't know if they have any comments during the public hearing.
That's me.
Oh, that's you.
I do
I
not.
guess you don't then.
I do not.
All right. Any questions from the Plan Commission?
I do. I've got a couple of questions. Number one is, you've never had an issue with parking, even though I was just adding up the numbers in your application. And for want of a better term, worst case scenario, you could have upwards of 400 people there at one time.
If you could mind coming up.
I'm just interested in how you arrived at that number.
Okay. I'm going by the application for the site plan and plan of operation. You've got under table seating capacity. You've got 52 on the patio and deck, 160 at the pavilion, 130 in the banquet room, and 52 at the bar. if you add all those up, that's 394.
Okay, I get what you're saying there, but the fact of the matter is that you can only fit 144 golfers on a golf course. That's a maximum.
Correct.
And those areas are really to serve the golfers while they're there. So there aren't additional people coming in and populating those areas. Those are for the people when they're done with their league or when they're done with their rounds, they will use the bar and so on. We don't have those filled up at any time
Okay.
unless it's from golfers who are already at our course.
Okay, the next question I have is, do you have activities there other than golfing? Do you have like wedding receptions and stuff like that?
We are limited on size in terms of our building, and so we have some small weddings, but they're not large. We do some like wedding showers and baby showers, again, not very large. Some meetings, things like that, again,
But you've
not terribly
never,
large.
you don't believe that you've got an issue with parking at all?
No, we never have because we plan it that way.
Okay. Okay, the last question I have is also in your application, you mentioned occasional DJ and band indoors for meetings and parties. I don't believe the original plan of operation provided for that. And is this a change in use that we need to address in what has before us tonight? I just want to make sure it's covered because you did state it in there. And I think it's something we need to address. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
I'm not sure about the original conditional use permit, what was included in that.
Based on it being indoors and a part of the banquet use, I don't believe that it's a change of use. I think the banquet rooms that rent out typically do allow for something like that that's set up temporarily and then taken down at the end of an event.
Well, I'm just, as an example, I'm just thinking here, looking through your application and what you've got for facilities. If you had an outdoor musical event down there,
Well, that would be something different.
Yeah, we don't
Okay.
do that.
I think that was the main takeaway from what was provided in the application was that it was limited to indoor and
okay, I
that
just want
was-
to make sure that we've got it covered.
Yep.
That way in the conditions that outdoor musical events are not permitted.
And that was some clarification that Ms. Wolfgram was able to provide as well, was that the outdoor space for the pavilion edition is really intended for golf outings.
Mhm. We had a smaller pavilion originally, and we were unable to fit, as I mentioned, if you have two foursomes on each of 18
Right.
holes, I have 144 golfers. We weren't able to fit enough tables under the pavilion, so we had them kind of spread on the apron and so on. The new pavilion addition would just give us additional room to put them in the
Sure.
shade.
And I understand that. Do you plan on having kitchen facilities down there to feed
No.
those tables? You're feeding them out of the building?
Mhm.
Okay. That's the only questions I have, Mr. Chairman.
Anything, Ed?
Always on it, Joe. I'm looking at the map that we
Okay.
were provided, okay? First of all, the parking lot that's near where the planned golf cart building is being planned for, do you use that as an overflow parking lot?
Basically, yes.
Okay, because in the area we're looking at, there's no cars there. In terms of the citizen that called in, I see trees that are basically to the east and a little bit to the, excuse me, the north of the proposed building. Do you basically wood chip underneath your trees in that area? Do you
Not in
know?
that particular area, no.
Okay, because that would tend to absorb, so runoff is not an issue in the case of heavy downpours. And the pavilion itself, that is going to go, it looks like almost due south of the current building that you're proposing,
The new pavilion
the new
is
pavilion,
due north.
due north. Okay. So, okay, yeah, I'm looking at existing roof and carts will come in or exit to, looks like to the west.
To
of
the
that
parking
building,
lot, it will be, yeah.
To that parking lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Looking at the drawings of the building, et cetera, standard storage, obviously.
We have another storage building that's built of the same materials.
Obviously, there's some holes near, on the course that are near this building, but basically it looks like it's surrounded by trees and no other residential structures.
No.
So, okay,
Okay. Anybody
Nope.
else?
no.
What are your hours of operation during the golf season? What are they?
Well, if you look in the thing, are you talking about golf itself? Okay. Basically, it does shift during the season because, our daylight changes. In the middle of the summer, our earliest tee times would be 6 o'clock. In the shoulder season, they would be, a little later starting. And, well, in the height of summer, I would say, we could probably send people out around 6 o'clock.
Because I just looking at this on page 3, it says all hours of operation. Golf cars open 7 days a week from sunrise to 10 a.m. during golf season.
It should say 10 p.m. It was a misprint.
I just
Mhm.
didn't know.
And the 10 p.m., I can explain that to you as well, because we have golf leagues Monday through Friday. And many of our golfers, when they're done golfing in the league, will come in and have a hamburger and maybe a couple of beers. And so we have our last call at 9:45. And so the people are generally leaving at 10 o'clock.
I understand. I just thought it was on the page.
Yeah, no, that was a misprint.
You wouldn't have a golf course.
No, I would not indeed. Not at all.
Brian, anything for you? Becky? Nothing else, Linda?
No.
All right. Anything else from the public? Who is Lisa tonight? Any other questions? All right.
We may want to leave it open based on the comments, at least for a little more discussion and look at the conditions as proposed by Foat to see whether any of the commissioners are wanting to tighten them up. As I'm hearing this situation, as you currently run it, it isn't a problem. We haven't received any complaints. But if she sells it and somebody else comes in and looks at these conditions, are we comfortable that these conditions accurately represent what she's doing and what she wants to do? There's representations that made, but those won't carry forward. Those will be forgotten, and so I think these questions are all good, but I direct you to looking at the conditions and deciding whether or not you want to tighten any of them up. I think the major concern is the banquets and the
Yeah.
weddings and the
we hope-
golfing and the golfing numbers and the golfing times. And I don't know that anybody would care if the banquet stuff wasn't here, I wouldn't even raise this.
Mhm.
But I think there's a concern that they don't want this to be a golf course and an event venue.
Yeah, I have a question for you. When I looked through, and I only received it just before the meeting began, but Orrin's report there, it indicated that that this conditional use permit was only for me and the golf club. How would you interpret that?
Well, that's a great question. And I was going to ask Lauren that question myself. Is he intending that if she or the golf course are no longer operating the operating entities, that they have to come back and get a new site plan and plan of operation?
Because that was how I interpreted when I read it.
It certainly is written that way.
Mhm.
And is that a problem for you?
It's not a problem for me.
Okay.
I would say that was the intent of that condition. Is that should there be a sale to another entity, they would
They would
come
have
in,
to do
they would
their
come in
own.
for a new site plan of operation for their business. Correct?
I'm sorry. I just want to make sure, because that's the way I interpreted it. I want to make sure so that the business is sold to Joe Blow. They have to come back not only for this amendment today, which is a small portion of the operation of the golf course. They're going to have to come in and ask for a site plan and a plan of operation primarily for the entire thing, okay.
Correct,
that's-
and basically reaffirm whether or not they're going to operate it this way as it had been, or if things are going to change.
Okay, that's the way I interpreted it. I think that's a good point.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's how I
To-
understood it.
Yes, to add to that, Ryan and Joe, given the concern moving forward, if you were to sell them, would be if you planned operations, it would be outside. Because basically, having been to your facility, the facility itself limits the total number of people that can be at that facility. There's really no large area for entertaining outside. And your square footage of your inside facility
It's also
would
limited.
limit,
Yeah.
obviously, because it's not a huge building, would limit the number of people that you can accommodate for anyone that is, played or been at your facility, which is very nice, by the way.
Well,
Thank
Mr. Chairman, that's exactly why I left it open, because maybe a condition should be the maximum number of persons on site at any one time. Employees, patrons, golfers, special events is blank. I mean, she's sort of saying that, and that's what I want to, I don't think anybody here doesn't want to give you exactly what you're asking for.
Well, that's good to hear.
I don't have that impression. Most of my clients, when reasonable people come in and make reasonable requests, they want to give them what they're asking for, but they want to make sure they're not inadvertently giving them more so that the next person down the road thinks they have more rights than you're asking for. Does that make sense?
I do understand what you're saying,
Yeah,
yes.
and
Sure.
so I think we need to tighten up to make sure we're giving her what she wants. But see, they can sell, and Warren, I'd like you to tighten that up, that if either she or, the entity, because she can sell the corporation tomorrow. and
I should
it's
point
still-
out here, I have 2 daughters who are also involved, so
Okay.
probably not.
Okay. Legally, maybe not family wise, but legally she could sell the LLC or the SC or whatever it is.
Sure.
But tying it to her and them is a great idea. That's what you did. And you might want to say if either changes, then they have to get a new CU or a new, and I'm not telling you what to do, but did you want to say you or your daughters were running it? Or
No, I'm fine
Okay.
with it the way it is.
Great, okay. Do we want to put a maximum number following through where we're in the discussion, the maximum number of people that could be on the site at any one time, including employees, patrons,
I would be much in favor of that, because that, again, for the reasons that town attorney mentioned, it's not you, it's whoever the next
Sure.
thing is, because I don't want to see Woodstock going on out there.
I understand.
You don't have the parking for it, the traffic on 164.
Woodstock didn't have the parking for it.
I know, exactly. So we're trying to learn. So I would like to see a limit on the total number of people, including employees,
Mhm.
limited.
And do you have a thought of what that number would be now? I don't put you on the spot, but you seem to
No,
be Johnny on the spot. I'd asking her if she had.
Yeah, I would ask the owner.
Yeah,
I'd like to put it slightly higher than I think I would need, just so I don't get in trouble for having 10 more people or something.
So if you have 144 golfers and you.
We might
every
have some
single-
people show up who are gonna just have their picnic, after the fact. Might have, some number of employees. Generally speaking, we don't have any more than 20, and that's high.
But if you had every single employee there possible, full golf course, you'd be around 190. And then to round it up to 200, just.
I would be happy with that number.
And the commissioners, Mr. Chairman? What do they think of the number 200?
Well, we don't have a magic wand or a magic ball, but, you can look forward, but I'm comfortable with that figure.
I think given the number of parking places, there's 134 parking places. That's the number I center around. So if every golfer is not going to come by themselves.
Yeah.
So I'm comfortable
Nope.
with 200 people.
Mhm.
Because that, I think 200 people and 134 parking places, assuming that's accurate, is reasonable.
Yeah. As I said, we've never had any problem with parking in the past, so.
Then that's what I would propose.
All right, now I cut you
Oh, Hold
off.
on, get some more people. Brian,
I'm good with 200.
Okay.
Becky? Okay.
No, and I cut you off. You were on that issue, and what other issues do we have? And then we'll come back down. That was the first issue. I think, do we have it in here that the music's only indoors?
Yes.
Is that a condition? I know it's in her plan of operation, I know, but is it a condition? It was significant enough If it's significant enough, we should put it as a condition. That's
Mhm.
always my rule.
Not currently a specific condition.
What is the commissioner, Mr. Chairman, what are the commissioner's feelings on that?
So basically, right now we have not in the CU that it's indoor music only, but we have it in the plan of operation. So if the applicant wanted to change that, they'd have to come back and ask for a plan in their, they're changing the plan of operation. But if we put it in the CU, then they're gonna have to come back, potentially have another public hearing and everything to change that.
Yeah,
Excellent. Please summarize.
yeah. Music, the facility again, unless I'm totally missing something, facility is, it was not built to really have a large musical group within the structure.
No, we have.
Because it would have to be somewhere near the bar and you just don't have the room in
Yeah,
there.
no, we have an upper party room, which you maybe haven't seen.
Right.
But it's not big. But we have a little dance floor up there and there is room for a DJ to set up, but we've never had a live band, nor do I think we really would have the room for it.
And that's what I meant to say.
Yeah.
There's room enough upstairs because yes, we have been up there.
Mhm. Oh, you
Um,
have, okay.
Yes, Lisbon Christmas party.
Oh, that's right.
Um,
A couple times,
and
actually.
yes, it would be, a DJ would be about it.
Mhm.
So,
So are you good with keeping it in the plan of operation or do you want it in the CU?
keep it in the plan of operation.
I'd rather see it in CU, then it's right out there in front of everybody and it's covered. And I think that's for your protection also. It would just limit music events to indoors.
Brian?
I would agree with Joe. Keep it in the conditional.
Becky?
I would keep it in the plan of operation.
For myself, I would rather it just stay in the plan of operation. I don't see a big concert coming here.
No,
And if it did, you'd have to go to the plan of operation and then it would have to be, you'd have to be changed at that point. But if you did have somebody outside just playing music, and people do that these days, just like an individual, you'd have to literally come back and have your conditional use change for that. Which I did.
Yeah, if so-and-so showed up with their ukulele, I might have problems. I mean, that
Literally.
actually, the reason I mentioned that is because that actually did happen. One of our employees showed up with a ukulele to a Christmas party and played tunes. We were inside at the time, but yeah. Yeah, I know. I know. I was just saying though, that I understand where he's saying.
And I get, there's always, we've had problems in other areas with certain things like this, and I can understand why someone would want it in the CU. I get it, but for me personally on this one, I think I'd rather keep it in the plan of operation. Linda, what's your feeling? All right.
Are there any other questions for me? If not, I'll take a seat.
I have one,
Okay.
and you may not know, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot. Do you know if you have a capacity for the number of individuals that are allowed in the building?
I do, but I don't know the number off the top. It's posted though.
Is it below 200?
Yes, I believe it is. There's a different posting for upstairs and for downstairs though. And I would have to review that to tell you if it's, I don't think it's 200. I think one is like 155 and the other is, I don't remember. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but we could put that in, that the.
Do you know your square footage?
200 on the premise.
Not off
but
the top of my
X
brain,
amount
no, I'm
on
sorry.
the building. I don't know if that's significant to the people or not. That's the law, is the law is the law, that's what it is.
Sure.
But again, it's just putting people on notice. Somebody comes to you and says, I want a, 200-person wedding. You could approve that, I guess, if you had no golfers that day, but, they may not all fit inside.
They wouldn't fit, so we wouldn't do it.
What's in the
Well-
building, it's, what it is what it is, if it's posted, right? Right, but if you had some, like, 100 people upstairs and 100 people out in the golf course, though, that would be your maximum.
Well,
But
that's why I
that
asked her
doesn't
whether,
happen.
Yeah, well, and I'm fine with having a max 200 people. I think that
Right.
that's reasonable.
that's why I asked what your square footage was, because
I don't know.
it's 10 square foot per person for a restaurant.
Yeah, I wasn't really
And- 'cause
expecting
you're not really
that
considered-
question, so I didn't come
Oh,
prepared to
no,
answer it. I'm
that's okay.
sorry.
And you're not really considered assembly. Assembly would be like an auditorium.
Oh,
that's
yeah,
7
no.
square feet per person. So That's why I'd asked.
You were going down the line and expressing your concerns. I think we made it almost to the end and we were working our way back. And I was just interjecting that if it's a concern, here's how we address it if you're of a mind to in the document.
Can you make sure you turn your mic on?
The question that I have got is I just want to make sure that the minutes show very clearly that it's just for Mrs. Wolfgram as the owner for these things. And then a new owner, if that is the case, would have to come back and redo everything. I think it should be said more than not enough. Okay.
Well, and I'm always worried about the minutes. So if you go to the document staff recommendation.
Yeah.
It now says the town of Lisbon approves the conditional use amendment request to Tamara H. Wolfgram and Songbird H. Hills. The song, what I'm recommending our planner do is put, and if either of these, parties were to change,
Yes.
that a new conditional use and site plan, a plan of operation would have to. I'm asking him to put that sentence right in the document.
Now, I'm just curious.
Does
though,
that
'cause-
address your concern?
Yes.
You want to check and see if that's okay with everybody else? Mr. Chairman, just,
Okay.
you scolded me last time because I moved too fast, so I don't want to
Oh, we
move too
almost missed
fast.
Brian. Brian and Becky.
You can move this fast.
Yeah.
Ed, and
I'm fine.
Okay.
I mean, it all makes logical sense. It protects the town and it protects the water.
The only concern I have is, because I can't read the map from where I am, I want to make sure this covers all the properties, not just the one we're talking about.
Yeah, I noticed that the three tax keys are all in
Okay.
the new thing.
That's the only concern I have
Yes.
from what
They're
you
there.
stated.
All three tax
John,
keys
that's
were
fine.
included.
Mhm.
Okay.
Brian?
Just kind of out there question. This isn't going to be heated, correct?
No, the new storage building won't be heated.
Do you plan on heating it ever? Is there any?
It's not on the
plans?
plans, no.
All right, that was my only question. Thank you.
Becky?
I don't have any questions.
May I have a question, another question? Mrs. Wolfgram now owns the property. If her daughters inherited, they are the new owners? And if they want to make a change, they have to come back and start all over, just like Mr. Joe Blow would have to do it, correct?
When you put it that way, that might be better if we did include them.
Are they included in the corporate owner of the property?
They are not currently, no.
Okay.
Originally, it was my parents and I, and both parents are now deceased.
If they were part of Songbird Hills Golf Course, Inc. Songbird Hills Golf Club, Inc., rather. Would that be covered, is the question, right?
No, if they inherited it, would they have to come back and get reapproved?
The answer right now is yes.
Yes,
Yes.
it would be.
Yes.
Yeah,
I'm trying to be
right.
proactive.
That's what I wanted to verify, the new owners.
Are you saying you would want them to come back and reapply?
It's not it's what Mrs. Wolfgram would want.
Yeah, and when she pointed it out to me, I'm like, maybe it would be better to have them in because I'm 65.
So you got another 100 years.
Well, and that's your attorney. You'd have to go to your attorney and obviously do all the paperwork and stuff.
Mhm.
Right, but right now, so you're asking to have it included that they would be grandfathered, I guess is the right term, but
If that's a sticking point,
John, how would that even be worded?
No, we worded, I actually have some that have worded that way. I'm sure your planner has also. It says it would be a new one under other conditions. It would say something to the effect that this conditional use is hereby, issue to, Mrs. Wolfgram and the corporation. If there is a change of the corporation, a new, that one we say that if there's a new change to the corporation, they have to come in for a new CU. But you could say Mrs. Wolfgram is authorized to transfer her interest to a direct, to a child. without getting a new CU. You can say that, subject to coming in and putting the town on notice. We always said they gotta come in, they gotta be told, this is what your mom committed to, you know, and you gotta live up to it if you wanted to transfer. So there is some phraseology that we could use, but it's a total policy decision if you want to do it.
I have a question regarding that then. It was my understanding before this last suggestion, if the ownership changes, then the new owners have to come in for a new plan of operation and conditional use for the entire golf course, which would supersede anything that came originally from the county or anybody.
Mhm.
The way that you just stated it, John, it sounds to me it only involves this change that we have before us tonight. I want to make sure there's a difference between, you're talking about an expansion of the pavilion and
Mhm.
expansion of the storage. That's what we're talking about tonight. What I'm talking about, if the ownership changes, that would all go away and the new owners would start at square one for a conditional use for the entire properties. Everything.
Yeah, that's what's intended. And so let's ask, Aaron, when you drafted it, did you include all of the past approvals directly or indirectly? Or are you just doing this as an amendment as as the commissioner just did?
So none of the past county conditions for that original CUP are included in this document.
And do we have a phrase that says they're all remain in place unless superseded by this specifically, you know, superseded by this document? We need that in here.
It's not in here that I saw. I was looking specifically for that. It was my understanding that these recommendations from the planner only cover the two things we're talking about tonight, that not the entire project.
Okay, so two things. We need a condition in here that says that all prior conditions of approval are included herein unless specific. If the hours of operation were different in the prior one, this one would supersede. Correct? Everybody agrees to that? So if we could add a condition to that effect. And then
Attorney
also
Macy?
one that says the entire conditional use is terminated. And the new conditional use law specifically allows you to do this. So, you know, to put a term on, if you're of a mind to put a term on, this would be considered a form of a term. And it's very typical to say, we're gonna give it to her. We trust her. She does a great job. You know, she's gonna live another 100 years. We're not worried about her. But the next group has to come in and convince us they're gonna be as conscientious as she was. That's your point, right?
That
Yes.
is my concern.
Mhm.
And we certainly cannot ascertain or dictate that the daughters are gonna necessarily want to take over the business. Wouldn't that be inappropriate on our part?
So it's just making it possible that if
It's
they
just
did-
making it possible.
Well, because they may decide, no, sorry.
Because currently they
We'll sell
both work for the golf course, so.
Yeah, if they both
It's a-
walk, you know, then that's moot. It's just as a courtesy. We have a lot of parents who come in and say, I'm not gonna be here forever. Could we, without going through all the red tape, transfer it to a child?
Yeah.
And you make the decision if you're willing to do that. There's no law that says you have to or you don't have to.
Well, as I said, whatever protects the town is the most, and is the most efficient.
Yeah, my concern is exactly as you stated, John. We don't know who the next entity is going to be.
Joe and Ed, can you turn your mics on, please?
I tried to.
Mine's just flashing.
Oh,
green.
here.
Yeah. Oh, okay, sorry.
Now it works.
The original conditional use from Waukesha County, in my opinion, is severely lacking in detail.
Oh, it was.
I mean, and so be it. I mean, you've been able to operate and so on and so forth. I'm worried about the next entity and my concern is that if there's a change in ownership, we start at square one and everything else proceeding is wiped out and we start at square one and we deal with the new owners.
Are you also saying, just as a question, are you saying not including my daughters? You wanted them to start over at square one as well? Is that what you're saying? I'm just trying to
I-
get
If
clarity.
if we can do that without, I'm just trying to think of all the permutations and what that could be. I mean, it could be you and them, you and one of them. Does that include you and them and one of their husbands or what? I'm just wondering how much of a problem this is gonna be, John, in doing this. I have no problem in including the daughters, but are we protected on that? I mean, how far does this go?
Well, I would only recommend, again, you give her what she's asking for, you don't have to, and that is the opportunity to transfer to both or either of her daughters the conditional use permit, subject to them coming in, putting the town on notice, meeting with the town plan commission and going through the site plan and plan of operation in detail and the conditional use. We always say that because they're not here tonight.
Right.
And, you know, they're living it because they worked it. Joe, that's the way it would write, very narrowly, to both or either of her daughters, and we can get her the names, and can be transferred upon them coming in and putting the town on notice and going through the site plan and plan of operation and conditional use for the plan. We can write it that way. I have written them. I'm sure both staff has written them that way.
Sorry. Everybody okay with that, Linda?
Yes,
That's good.
and I'm sure we're going to, with operations in the town, because other golf courses have been built during the same duration in the 90s.
Mhm.
So this is going to come back again. I don't know about the corporations or people that are building in our business parks. So if they should change ownership. But yeah, I'm okay.
Okay.
As Attorney Macy has laid out the issue.
Joe, you're good with that?
Yes.
Brian?
Yes.
Becky?
Yes.
So am I.
Chairman, I just want to make one point of clarification. We only have the county's original CUP for this
Yeah, we do.
site. The conditional use permit status on the town's end is grandfathered based on the use existing prior to the current conditional use requirements.
Mhm.
And so there are no past conditions from the town to reiterate in this approval. We're establishing
Right.
them essentially,
It's
and
being
we're,
established here.
yeah. Correct.
Everybody understands that?
Yes.
Okay. Lisa's got a question. Why don't we let her voice her concern?
Lisa,
Yeah,
Angel?
I'm wondering if the public hearing formally closed. Okay, so I had just a couple of thoughts and really easy questions for you. Nothing huge. The one thought is, or one question is, there are trees and shrubs going back to the plantings around there. Are you planning to cut down, remove any of the existing trees and shrubs? I know most of the area is turf grass, but just wondering about that.
We do need to remove a few trees.
What kind of trees are they?
You ask the hard questions. They're not evergreens, that much I can tell you.
Well, I wish they were, because those we can spare, but if they're oaks that are 100.
Definitely not
years-
oaks.
Okay, okay. All right, well, trees provide shade. You're trying to provide a structure that is, and, protected from the sun, a roof structure. When you're removing trees, you're removing shade. So, there's some trees that should be preserved, in my opinion. Second, just, the coordinates are hard to visualize. I know we're talking about east of 164. What is the north and the south main roads for this property? I'm not familiar with it. It sounds kind of interesting. I'll come and check it out this summer.
There are no roads directly north or south of the golf course.
What are the nearest main roads, actually?
Nearest main roads will be County Q to the north, which is about a mile,
Yeah,
and Plainview Road, which
Okay.
I'm not sure how far it is.
yep, no, that gives me the perspective. Thank you. I also just wanted to say, the discussion around what should happen with your daughters. you know, daughters and parents and kids and parents don't always agree on things. And certainly it sounds like, you know, it's a family operation at this point, but that could change if you're not the controlling factor and your daughters become owners of the property. So I agree with there being some type of, you know, at minimum site plan for the whole property when ownership transfers, because, you know, like I said, you may not be there to say, no, you're not doing that. That's not what we planned. And they may have their own thoughts on how to run this property, how to manage it. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. What else do we have to cover? John, we cover everything you had concerns about?
I just was going down the line. We covered the event venue by the 200. Is everybody satisfied that that is enough limiting factor? You know,
Yes.
those, I mean, we have our notes and Orin's already tried to address some of that in the conditions from last discussion. And so we're just picking up from there.
Sure.
I am going to recommend that if a motion is made, that it be subject to the final wording being approved by the town chairman. Or one of yourselves if you'd prefer, but we usually defer to the administrator or chairman. The administrator's not here, so I can't ask her to sign off on the final wording, but obviously Orin will be sending it to Kathy, Elisa, and I first. And then once we all sign off on it, then it would go to you for final approval unless you want to bring it back. I'm not suggesting this has to come back. That's a policy decision of your board, but at a minimum, I need one of you to sign off. I mean, legally, I prefer that.
So we're still in the public hearing stage, but after this, there should be no new evidence or any questions asked. We require new evidence. So everyone have every question they need answered at this point?
Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Applicant has presented everything they want to present. Staff,
I just wanted to add that I'll be planning to amend the typo regarding the hour that was mentioned to 10 PM from 10 AM.
okay. All right, anyone else with any comments on this public hearing? Anyone else on Zoom? All right, so then I'll close this public hearing at 7:23. I'll
If I
take,
may, will the planner tell us what is this? Are you doing the next public hearing?
yeah, gotcha. So public hearing number 2, open up at 7:23. It's a public hearing consideration of proposed amendments to the town zoning code in particular, but not limited to section 3 related to off-street parking regulations.
You have before you a request for an amendment to the off-street parking requirements. This goes back to at least October of 2021, surrounding the proposed Quick Trip development. And staff at that time was directed to prepare an amendment that would accommodate and provide some clarification for how parking would work for commercial use such as a gas station. And what you have in your packets is an amendment to letter J, number 1C, retail business establishments. And the new language would provide a requirement for a minimum of 1 space for each 200 square feet of gross floor area of customer sales and service, plus 1 space per employee of the largest work shift, and provide for parking spaces under gas station pump canopies may count toward the minimum requirement. So that bit of added clarification was added as well.
Questions from the commission?
None.
No.
None.
All right. Anyone on Zoom, any questions for this public hearing or comments? questions, no other evidence that, or the extent of it or? We'll close this public hearing then at 7:26. And open up the next public hearing number 3 at 7:26. The consideration of proposed amendments to the town zoning code, in particular but not limited to addendum E, section 7, related to lighting regulation.
The request for this amendment goes back to December 2021 regarding the Pontiac trucking site plan of operation. There is currently not enough flexibility in the code to accommodate an industrial type use that has trucks that would hit a light pole that would meet the current requirement of being 18 feet or less. And so the proposed amendment was to provide the flexibility in certain circumstances. And the proposed amendment adds language. The requirement is within section 7, lighting, letter D, which states that fixture mounting height shall be appropriate for the project and setting. The mounting height for small parking lots and service areas shall not be higher than 18 feet. And the amendment is to add a fixture mounting height more than 18 feet deemed to be appropriate for the project scale and setting may be permitted upon approval of the JPC, standing for Joint Plan Commission, and Town Plan Commission. And we had a discussion at the last meeting that there could be commercial areas within the town that are subject to a Joint Plan Commission review, which is why that language was included. And then at letter E, similarly, language is being proposed to be added that light poles more than 18 feet in height deemed to be appropriate for the project and setting may be permitted upon approval of the JPC and Town Plan Commission.
Questions from the Plan Commission? Anything, Ed,
No.
Joe,
No.
Brian,
No.
Becky,
No.
Linda? All right, Lisa has her hand raised.
Go ahead, Lisa.
Yeah, when we're talking about especially lighting, light pollution is a real thing. And we do have residential areas, the subdivision across from Quick Trip, that should be considered when we're talking about increasing the lighting capacity for any property. I mean, I think it should be as neighborhood friendly as possible in respect for those people who have their residential properties near that area. And I feel like we just need to make that a priority to try to, on something like this, perhaps keep those residents' feelings and thoughts as a priority, because it's something that we do make a decision on. You know, most Quick Trips, gas stations, businesses have adequate lighting when it comes to, you know, just regular use by customers, more than adequate lighting. And again, light pollution is a real thing. And I do enjoy looking out and seeing shooting stars and seeing a clear view of the night sky. And I know that many of those residents in that subdivision do as well. So I think that we should not increase the use of more lighting, that it should be considered, we should consider those residents and make it a minimal amount of lighting. Thank you. Do you need my address again? I'm sorry, I didn't.
Oh, you're fine, Lisa.
Okay, thanks.
Just a little history behind this one. The reason this came up was actually in our industrial area on Leeds. We have a trucking firm that was going to go in, and the height of the trucks is what affected this. We had a limit on how high the poles could be. So the applicant wanted higher poles, but less lighting. Otherwise, she would have to put a lot more lighting in, which actually can reflect off things and make it work, especially trucks, which are mainly white. So this actually, I think, fits right into what you were saying, Lisa. It's it's just one of these exceptions that we weren't able to change, so this makes it allowable for us to do this. It really has nothing to do with Quick Trip at this time. This is our other side of town. But it would have potentially taller lights, but less of them, essentially, is what it would do.
Chairman, could we ask the planner to explain how the, what if any change by this ordinance would change and help me out with what we look to see the overflow of the light off the property, all of that. I don't think it changes anything.
It doesn't. There's still a requirement that, essentially you have a cutoff, a full cutoff style light that doesn't allow light to spill onto adjacent properties. So that requirement is still there. And I think the key to this amendment is that there's still a provision that the Plan Commission make a determination that if a light is to exceed the 18-foot height limit, that it be deemed to be appropriate for the project scale and setting. And so just because the Plan Commission might deem it to be appropriate in this instance for a, industrial trucking use, given the height of their trucks and the location of that property and what might be adjacent to that property, doesn't mean that you would have the same finding for other possible uses. And I also want to add that the addendum that this amends is limited to this gateway area for the new town business park. And so that doesn't mean that it couldn't apply to, it doesn't mean that it couldn't apply to other areas in the future, but for right now, this is where it currently does. And it was that specific instance that was in mind.
Okay. Any other questions from the,
Mr. Chairman, Warren, this isn't a business park. It is to the construction site for this trucking entity is south of another operation. I've forgotten the name of it, but there is a business park to the west. The closest major artery would be 74 and Town Line Road. Town Line Road would be in Menominee Falls, and that's where residents are. So in the citizen comments on that, lighting, the technology on lighting has improved significantly for more down lighting than lighting that's thrown either sideways or up into the atmosphere. And just as a side comment, I believe the lighting that's coming off Sussex Hamilton's football field is a lot more intrusive than anything that we are looking at that industrial operation. So.
Joe,
I have no comments, sir.
Brian,
No comment.
Becky,
No comment.
Linda? Lisa?
I understand what you're saying, that we're talking more specifically about a different area, but when we change this ordinance, isn't that applicable to any area in the town?
It is not. This is only in the special use zoning districts.
Which include what?
The
Kind of areas.
Lisbon Business Park East.
That's it?
Then this is in the gateway.
Correct. This
So
is
if
in
you
the
lived
Village
in
Gateway
Business
area.
Park East, this would be down by F and Lisbon Road. There's a business park down there, and it would also potentially include 164 by Howard Lane.
Correct.
So
And
those
is
would
that,
be,
would that be specified then in the change, those specific areas? Because I kind of see it mentioned in the notes.
The addendum where these provisions are found states that it is applicable to the special use zoning districts.
So could that change though? I mean, like I said, I still feel like this sounds like a more of a sweeping thing that could be applicable to other areas in the future.
it's always possible that things could change, but it is very unlikely. So basically, these special use zoning districts was a joint agreement between Lisbon and Sussex on areas. And I can't believe Lisbon would agree to allow another community to have, whether it be Sussex or Menominee Falls or anyone have say in any other portion. So it would be very unlikely that this would ever change. Can't ever say for sure it never would, but it would be extraordinarily unlikely.
Mhm. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right, any more questions?
No.
Any questions? All right. And no other questions on Zoom? And then going to close this public hearing at 7:36. And we'll take us right into the Plan Commission meeting. We've already done roll call. Next item is item 2, citizens' comments. Any comments from anybody here or on Zoom for any item? All right. Lisa?
I have 2 questions, just general questions. One is, I'm a member of the Wild Ones nonprofit native landscaper organization, and we're interested in potentially doing a project in the community park. We've been involved with the park in the past. We've picked invasives, garlic mustard, we've done tours there. And so I'm wondering what's the best way to go about that? Oops, sorry. Should we be talking to the park commission? Should we be talking to the board? I'm just wondering what the best way to get cooperation, approval, backing of this project by the town.
So normally during the citizens comment portion, there's no back and forth on this one, but I
Oh.
would direct talk to, it's different than the other one. So the other one
That's
is a
right.
public hearing where it is back and forth. This one is just where the citizens address us.
Make comments. Well, my comment is that we're hoping to be able to do a project with the town of Lisbon. And sorry, I'm learning how to, manipulate these meetings, but just want to try to just put it out there that we're interested in doing that.
Urge you to give Kathy a call. She'll be back, I think, Monday.
Kathy, okay, I'll work with her. Yeah. And then, I guess my thoughts are I haven't heard too much or seen too much about, I know I missed the last commission meeting, plan commission meeting about incorporation and what the status is, where I can find some more information on that. So that I'm just kind of wondering where we are, because I know we were looking at about this time to be incorporated. Should I talk to Kathy about that too?
You can call me or Kathy, either one. There's a lot happening on that road right now.
Okay, that's what I figured. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, any other comments?
No.
All right. Item 3, approval of minutes, meeting minutes. We have the January 6, 2022 public hearing and plan commission minutes and the February 3rd, 2022 public hearing and plan commission minutes. Questions, comments?
Mr. Chairman, I move for the January 6, 2022 public hearing and plan commission minutes to be approved as submitted.
All right, motion by Joe to approve the January 6 minutes. Is there a second?
I will second that.
Second by Nelson, discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. All right, then we have the February minutes. Any questions, comments, or is there a motion on those?
So move.
I'll second.
To approve?
Yes.
Moved by Nelson, second by Joe. Easily. Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 4, new business. A, discussion and necessary action on the request by Tamara Wolfgram, Songbird Hills Golf Club for the property located at West 259 North 8700, State Road 164, LSPT 0178.995, LSPT 0178.996, and LSPT 0159.999 in the PR Park and Recreation Zoning District for the following related to construction of a new storage building in addition to the existing pavilion. We have the amendment to the conditional use permit and the amendment to site plan and plan of operation. Right. So we had quite a bit of stuff we covered here in the public hearing. Everybody understood everything. All right, is there any other additional comments from anyone?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Brian?
No.
Becky?
No.
All right, on either the amendment to the conditional use or the amendment to the site plan and plan of operation?
No.
All right, John, we obviously had a lot of stuff in this one.
Well, are you asking where we proceed from here?
Yeah.
Okay, the conditional use, there could be a motion to approve the conditional use pursuant to the conditions as recommended by the planner in the staff report, as well as the additional conditions proposed during the discussion, with that language being subject to the town chairman's approval. And we can list those if you like, but we were all here, we have the tape. And Oren's got lots of notes, I've got lots of notes. But if you'd like us to run through them, we could, but you don't need to. We would incorporate those. And of course, you sign off on them. If you have doubts, you would bring it back to them.
So moved.
By Joel. Is there a second?
Second,
Second by Ed, and that is on the amendment to the conditional use permit.
it is, Mr. Chairman.
Joel?
Yes.
All right, everybody understood that motion?
Yes.
Very
Yes.
clear.
You're okay with having me sign off on,
Yes, we trust you.
any other additional comments?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Then we have the amendment to the site plan and plan of operation. John, did your comments cover all of that, or was that mainly just the C?
That was the CU. I don't think, and I'll defer to the planner, that we actually made any changes to the
Plan of
plan of
operation.
operation. When
No,
we
we did
asked,
not.
he said, leave it here, and with all the comments I took down, the notes were all about the others, but.
I'll be making one change to that typo regarding the hours at
Should be 10
condition
PM.
1, letter C, correct? And then
Yes.
do we need to amend site plan of operation, condition 1 to include the added language regarding,
Well, let me, based on what you're telling us, Soren, I misspoke. Why doesn't the motion read, the plan commission approves it subject to the planner report and any additional changes that need to be made to the same, consistent with the changes made to the conditional use,
perfect.
and subject then to the town chairman signing off on the same. Does that work for people?
Yes.
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 All right. Questions, comments, or is there a motion?
I'll make a motion
Go ahead, Joe.
as stated by town attorney.
All right, is there a second?
I will second that.
All right, everybody understands that motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes,
also be-
because it includes all the information that was covered. The CU language for town chair approval.
So if there's anything in conflict on the plan of operation with the CU would be supersede plan of operation, correct, John?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay, everybody understands that?
Yes.
And I'd also be signing off on it. Everybody's okay with that?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, any final discussion?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Item B, discussion necessary action regarding proposed amendments of the town zoning code, in particular but not limited to section 3 related to off-street parking regulations and recommendation of the town board of the same. Do we have any questions or comments on this one?
No, Mr. Chairman.
No.
Anything else from staff? Is there a motion on this item?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that the proposed amendments to the town zoning code, in particular but not limited to section 3 related to off-street parking regulations, be approved per planning consultant Foth recommendations and information.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
By Brian. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item C, discussion and necessary action regarding proposed amendments to the town zoning code, in particular but not limited to addendum E, section 7 related to lighting regulations and recommendations of the town board of the same. Any questions or comments on this?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Anything else from staff? Is there a motion?
I would move, Mr. Chairman, that the proposed amendments to the town zoning code, in particular but not limited to the addendum E, section 7, related to lighting regulations, be approved with special attention to planning consultant Foth recommendations for planning commission meeting of 3/3/22.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Becky. Any final discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. Item 5, plan report.
We had several planner appointments this afternoon. Just grab my notes from those here. So the first was with the Lafarge Quarry regarding a possible expansion there. Amendment to their site plan of operation and possible rezoning. Our second meeting was regarding a custom auto shop in a county M2 zoning on Good Hope, which would be a site plan of operation. We also had a meeting regarding a site owned by Blaze Landscape. That is a fill site, and they've been working with Waukesha County and Kunkel Engineering and the town building inspector, and will be coming in eventually for a conditional use permit for a major grading, conditional use permit for a contractor yard, and a site plan of operation. That property is currently zoned A10, that's on Town Line Road. And then we had Stark Paving in for a temporary amendment to their site plan of operation to allow an extension of operating hours, April through November, which is something that they've come in for in the past. 2020 was mentioned as the last time that was before the Plan Commission. And so that item will likely be on our next agenda for sure for April. That was it.
All right, any questions?
No, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ron.
You're welcome.
All right, item 6 is adjournment.
So move.
Give that one to Joe.
All right,
Is there a
second.
By Ed Nelson. No discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 5-0, we are out at 7:49. Thank you, everybody.
I missed it, but.
You lost by 9 minutes.